The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. Friedrich Nietzsche. The life of a man, from birth until death, is an ongoing battle, a relentless struggle for survival waged with the grim knowledge that defeat is certain. Arthur Schopenhauer, with his trademark bleak clarity, understood this better than most. The life of man, he asserted, is a constant struggle for existence with the certainty of defeat. She smiled at your scars, not because she wanted them healed, not because she hoped you would recover, but because they confirmed something deeper. They proved that you had bled for her. You were conditioned to believe that women desire strength, that they crave dominance wrapped in charm and decisiveness. But what they truly yearn for is more nuanced. It's not just raw strength they seek, but strength that suffers on their behalf. Schopenhauer saw this dynamic for what it was. He wrote, "The fundamental fault in the character of women is that they have no sense of justice." That may sound harsh until you realize that justice, in its most basic form, begins with recognizing and reciprocating sacrifice. Gratitude is the foundation of justice. And yet, to her, your sacrifices don't register as acts of nobility or gestures to be acknowledged. To her instincts, they are simply the natural order of things, the expected. You were messled, but not by her malice. Rather, you were deceived by your own illusions. You believed that if you loved her purely, suffered for her openly, and remained loyal, you would eventually earn her admiration. But in reality, your suffering was never seen as noble. It was merely your contribution, your role to play in the great biological drama. In his unfiltered critique of reality, Schopenhauer wrote that women exist in the main solely for the propagation of the species. This was not meant as a condemnation of women, but rather a revealing of their evolutionary purpose. Propagation demands far more than affection. It requires the constant demonstration of strength, the capacity for endurance, and the willingness to suffer. And so you suffer, you toil, you build, you fight. Not because you're guaranteed a reward, but because your usefulness is defined by your capacity to endure. This is why the approval of a woman, the nod, the smile, the look of admiration, is not given to the carefree or the idle. It is not for the man who floats through life, unburdened. It is reserved for the man who breaks himself for a cause, the man who silently bleeds under the crushing weight of responsibility and expectation. She admires not your wins, but your wins, not your conquests, but your endurance. It is the man who hides his pain behind the stoic mask of resilience that captures her gaze. In nature's great play, women have evolved to respect not the victorious in times of ease, but the resilient in times of torment. In fact, Schopenhauer argued that nature crafted women to focus only on what was necessary for immediate survival. He noted that nature has endowed women for her protection and defense with the art of dissimulation. That is, with the instinct to deceive, not out of cruelty, but as a tool of survival. So when she tests you, when she issues impossible demands, when she seems indifferent or even cold, it isn't necessarily malice. It's a trial by fire. It's a deep, instinctual test. Only the man who survives these tests, without crumbling, without complaint, earns a place in her world. She becomes both a mirror and a forge, unconsciously shaping male greatness through the very suffering she induces. Yet the modern man, raised on a diet of romantic illusions, told that equality means sameness, that vulnerability will be rewarded, struggles to accept this reality. He believes that offering softness will yield affection, that exposing his soul will earn loyalty. But he has forgotten a crucial truth: vulnerability, in the primal world, signals weakness. And weakness, biologically speaking, demands rejection. Schopenhauer's insight was not that women are cruel, but that they are far more aligned with the unspoken laws of nature than men who indulge in sentimentality. When she loves, she does so with a ferocity that consumes. But there is always a trace of self-preservation beneath that devotion. At the bottom of a woman's love, he wrote, there is always something selfish. This selfishness is not necessarily malicious. It's essential for her survival. So, if you ever find yourself wondering why your endless kindness, your gentle words, your selfless actions went unnoticed or unappreciated, understand this: it wasn't because she hated you. It was because you offered your suffering without pride. And suffering, when given without pride or strength, becomes invisible to her instincts. A man who suffers and rages is still trapped. But a man who suffers and understands, he is on the path to liberation. Schopenhauer taught that life is suffering, and that human desire is the mechanism that keeps us bound to pain. To expect a woman, herself a creation of nature, to transcend the very instincts that shaped her is to completely misunderstand the reality of human life. He wrote plainly, woman is by nature meant to obey. Again, this was not a declaration of dominance, but a reflection of the natural tension between masculine creation and feminine selection. A man builds, a woman chooses. A man endures, a woman rewards the one who endures best. If these words stir anger within you, it's not because they are false, it's because they dismantle the comforting illusions you were taught. You were not born to be loved for your softness, your intentions, or your vulnerability. You were born to be tested, by nature, by fate, and yes, by her. And when you pass these trials, not with bitterness or complaint, but with stoic acceptance, you rise above the game. Schopenhauer noted that the intellect of women relates to the intellect of children, just as their bodies do to those of men. Meaning, their focus is on the immediate, the practical, the present. She doesn't plot your downfall. She's simply responding to a different rhythm, a survival frequency where emotional comfort takes a back seat to biological security. In her world, the man who remains unbroken through the worst of storms is the man worthy of trust. She doesn't want to pity you. She wants to see that you cannot be crushed. You are not meant to flaunt your wounds, hoping they'll win you compassion. You're meant to wear your scars like armor. Even in ancient myths, it was never the tender or the accommodating man who won the love of goddesses or queens. It was the man who bore suffering like a crown. Achilles wept, but still fought. Odysseus suffered endlessly, but always returned. They understood that suffering is not an obstacle. It is the path. Pain is not a curse. It is the forge. And if it seems that she desires your suffering, it's not because she wants to see you broken. It's because she wants to see if you can rise through it. The more you resist this truth, the more meaningless your pain becomes. But if you embrace it, if you accept that your struggle is both inevitable and necessary, then you'll no longer beg for appreciation. You'll begin to command respect. Women do not destroy the male spirit. They reflect it. If your spirit is ready to wear the crown of life, she will reflect that back to you. Not with praise, but with submission. Not with comfort, but with deep loyalty. She does not make you suffer to crush your soul. She makes you suffer to reveal it. And once you understand this, you will cease to fear her nature. You will begin to bless it. The wise man does not curse the storm. He builds a better ship. Schopenhauer's warnings were never cries of misogyny. They were invitations to awaken. He once wrote, "To marry is to halve one's rights and double one's duties." This is not bitterness, it's preparation. The modern man must not demand that the woman change. He must change his expectations. He must strengthen his resolve, discipline his emotions, and fortify his soul. If she finds power in your suffering, let it not be because you were crushed under the weight of your dreams. Let it be because you carried your burden with silence, dignity, and resolve. Let your pain become the source of your strength, not your plea for sympathy. When you stop needing validation, you start becoming a man in the truest sense. Your strength must not come from a life devoid of pain, but from the courage to endure it with grace. Do not suffer for her gaze, suffer to sharpen your soul. Do not endure to be loved, endure to transcend. And if through that, you earn her admiration, it will not be because you sought it. It will be because you outgrew the need for it. Schopenhauer, the grim philosopher of suffering, still acknowledged that amidst life's cruelty, there exists moments of beauty. He did not despise women. He pitied the men who failed to understand them. The man who truly understands does not see women as enemies. He sees them as forces of nature, winds that either shatter fragile ships or propel strong ones toward the horizon. So, brothers, build yourselves into men who do not beg for softness where strength is required. Do not ask women to validate you. Prove to yourself that you're worthy, regardless of whether she stays or walks away. When she tests you, when she pulls away, when she challenges your resolve, see it not as betrayal, but as initiation. She is not the flame that seeks to burn you. She is the fire that will temper you. The answer is not retreat, it is sovereignty. Anchor your life in a purpose that runs deeper than her approval. Cultivate such depth and strength that her affection becomes a blessing, not a necessity. Then, and only then, will you live in harmony with women, not as a boy seeking rescue or as a cynic seeking revenge, but as a man standing in full awareness of reality. You were not born to be pitied. You were born to be revered. And reverence, my brother, is earned through fire. Schopenhauer lit the path. The rest is yours to walk. If these words sparked a fire inside you, if they awoke something you always felt but couldn't explain, then stand with us. Like, share, and subscribe. Your support fuels more than this channel. It fuels a movement rooted in strength, clarity, and sovereignty. Together we rise beyond the illusions. If you enjoyed our videos, make sure to give them a like. And don't forget to subscribe to Philosmind for more thought, provoking ideas and deep insights.